Hey guys, my name is Kendrick and welcome to ENFP Mail. Today I get to interview Jenna Wattenberger. Did I say your last name correctly?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Is that German?
it is.
But is that your last name or is that your husband's last name?
Well, I must really love my husband because it's his last name and I took it.
Oh, okay. So you're not German then?
Mm-mm. But when you marry a guy with the last name Wattenberger, that's true love.
Yeah, I'm not. Um, okay, no comment. um, my last name's probably worse anyways. So Jenna, what is your type? You're an INFP, but what is your exact op type?
Okay, that's what I've been typed in an objective personality. I'm pretty sure that's not actually my personality type.
Okay.
So I was typed as double feminine, INFP, consume, play, blast, missing sleep. So yeah.
And you say you don't think that's your type?
I had a few blissful months where I did, and I was really happy about it because it seems like a really nice type of person.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, wow, that's why I'm so nice to people because, like, my motives are pure and I just have really good values and everything. And then started asking about like in the groups, like, what's the difference between values and reasons and like things like I have friends who are Savior FI and like my illusion started kind of crumbling and I was like, I don't think this is who I am. And then I had an interview with Benjamin, and he kept pointing out that I was using extroverted feeling and introverted thinking a lot. And then I was like talking to my friends who use a lot of introverted feeling and I was like, oh, okay, that is not my type. So yeah, I was really happy and then I was a little disillusioned, but I don't think it's their fault. Like I mean, it's a 45-minute interview that you videotape and send in. So
Yeah.
like, I don't blame them. I love their system. I think they're like visionaries, yeah, I don't think that's my type. So yeah.
So you said that Benjamin said noticed that you were using a lot of extrovert feeling. Do you think you use a lot of extrovert feeling?
I do. And so first I was thinking, okay, well maybe my introverted feeling values are just like very extroverted feelingy. And then I started like doing a deep dive into the Jungian literature. So I read a lot of John Beebe. I don't know if you've read him. He was a Jungian analyst. He's actually had a lot of influence. So I read a book called Patterns and Energies and Psychological Type. I think that's what it's called. And he was talking about extroverted feeling. And then I went and read some Jungian lectures, some lectures by Jung, reread Psychological Types, and then read some other things about extroverted feeling. And I was like, yeah, that's definitely what I use. You know what I mean? Because I don't like I don't really know what I don't really feel like I prioritize like what I believe in or how I feel, especially around other people. I'm more like worried about how they feel and how they're doing. And I'm like, if somebody tells me I'm doing something wrong, like I immediately believe them a little bit, or I'm like, oh, maybe I'm wrong about that. You know what I mean? But then where I'm kind of annoying is like, if I feel like somebody is being irrational or if I don't agree with their logic and I'm like, wow, let's talk about this. Like, why don't we deconstruct this and why do you think that? And then people will be like, back off. Why are you being so aggressive? And I'm like, what? I thought we were just having an interesting conversation, So like
Yeah.
where I'll be kind of like my thing that I identify with is like my ideas that I've really worked out that I'm going to be like stubborn about.
So would you say you're like an INTP then instead or something or?
Okay, so I know after I read some of Jung and some of Beebe, I could tell that my first function was extroverted intuition, and then my fourth function is introverted sensing, and that's definitely been my life struggle. What is with the sensory, like just disregarding the sensory, and you know what they say about like your fourth function, how You think you're just like kind of bad at it. Like you're like, yeah, like I could do better with this, but it shouldn't be so important. Like, but then like you're actually like grossly neglectful. Like it's like awful. Like I don't know if do you have that experience with extroverted intuition and like introverted sensing where you're just like not taking care of things.
I lose things all the time. That's I'm not even aware of it. Like things are always missing, you know? Like
Do you ever like drive through your neighborhood or a place you've driven to a million times and you're like, I've never seen that house. I've never noticed that house before.
well, I have masculine introvert sensing, so I have a pretty good memory.
Uh-huh.
But my problem is more like I'm always losing things. Like I just came back from vacation, like kind of before we talked about before we started the interview,
Hmm.
and I have a lock for my luggage, and every time I open my luggage, the lock goes missing. It happens. It happens every single time, and
Yeah.
like I don't even have any control over it. Like I don't even know what's happening. Like what like where did it go? Why did it go missing? You know? I'm always so choked, right? And my girlfriend's like looking at me. She's like, "Oh my god, did you lose it again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I lost my lock again." You know, and you know, my girlfriend's also an ENFP like me, and she's also always losing
Oh
shit.
wow.
So
That
we're both losing stuff all the time, and she's getting like flustered. I'm like, "It'll show up.
mhm.
Just wait. It'll show up." You know, and it
Yeah,
does. But like we have absolutely no control over it. It just things disappear all the time. You know, and we get so
I
flustered.
I
So
do know. Yeah. So would do you have a job?
yeah, I work in the fitness industry.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. And do you have to use a lot of sensing with that? A lot.
Yeah, like I mean, like I have a notebook, so I just write down, you know, how many reps people do or how much weight they've lifted. I think where it's bad is counting like the reps, because sometimes I'm counting the rep, and then my client will look at me. It's like I'll be like 9, 11, and it's like no, I'm only at 10, or like I'm already finished. I did 12 already, you know, and I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, oops, sorry, I can't count, you know, like you know, it's
Yeah.
like you know, so that's kind of where it's
And do you like not when you go in the morning, do you not necessarily know what your schedule is or go over with appointments or anything like that? Or is it like the right amount of structure where you're not super stressed out?
Oh, I just have it on my phone, so it like it gives me like alert when like when my next appointment's coming up, because I do forget. Like there's many times where I'm sitting in the let's say the fitness office,
Mhm.
and like someone goes up to me, he's like, "Kendrick, your client's here." I'm like, "What client?" You know, like like oh shit, you know. So yeah, you know, it does happen with that introvert sensing being it so weak, you know. Yours is feminine though, right? So it's probably even worse
Oh,
than
it's
mine.
really bad. It's really bad. Yeah, it's really embarrassing. And like sometimes people will point it out to me. My friend Michelle was like, she came by the other day because we were going to get our nails done. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go get my purse, and I went upstairs, and then I came back down, and she said, where's your purse? And I said, oh yeah, I forgot. And then she said, why did you forget? You just went upstairs to get your purse. And I was
Yeah,
like, leave me alone.
yeah.
It's like embarrassing, but I have 3 kids too, like, so it's really bad, like, but I've had to work on it a lot. So with the kids, fortunately, I've gotten better at it, but it used to be like comical. Like, I mean, what I always heard growing up, from like my family, like just like kind of giving me a hard time, was like, you're so smart, but you have no common sense.
Yeah.
And I was like,
And how did you take that when they said that to you?
oh, well, it was true.
Yeah.
I'm like 12 years old, like reading Moby Dick for fun, but you know, I can't remember, like, I'm at, like, at a family reunion. I can't remember my great aunt's name because I've only met her 8 times,
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Um,
relate to, I can
I,
relate to that.
yeah, yeah. So, I guess I just feel like, well, at least I'm smart, so take that.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So are you saying you're an ENTP then?
I'm either an ENTP or I'm an ENTP jumper. I would love to think I'm an ENTP jumper because I have been very attached to this idea ever since I learned about Jungian psychology and the functions and everything, that I was a feeler.
Yeah.
As a woman, as a girl, like you're socialized to be a feeler. You're supposed to be a feeler.
Yeah.
And also with your hormones and your biology, like you do have a lot of feelings, generally speaking.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to disentangle feelings from being a feeler. You know what I mean? But also it was just something that like was a part of my self-esteem. Like I'm a feeler. Like I'm good at the feelings. I'm good at the interpersonal stuff. And I know how to smooth things over. I know I'm good with people, but when I'm in that mode, like I'm a little bit more like insecure. Like I used to tell people I was shy and they were like, no, you're not. And I was like, no, on the inside, I'm shy. You know what I mean? But where I'm most comfortable is when I'm just like, where I'm at home is like with my ideas. So I don't know if that means I'm a classic ENTP or if I am a jumper, like I probably am an ENTP, probably.
Would you say the animal stack is correct then?
Um, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yep. So
So
double activated FE third function as a third function. Yeah.
um so you have bouts where you're kind of just staying at home reading stuff or researching, and then 1 minute then you get super extroverted, because I remember David Chan said that when Blast and Play are together, they're extra extroverted. So does that happen to you then?
I would say that you know how they say like, what do you do first during the day?
Yeah.
Like, how does your day go? Like with my kids, first thing in the morning what I do is, because I'm really strict about the screen time, which I used to think was a value. But then I thought, no, those are reasons, because I've read the research about like how much screen time children are supposed to have based on their ages, and then kind of put together, okay, like their brain development, and then thinking about screen time these days, how they make that the games and how it's always available. It's kind of like addictive, like and they show addictive behavior with it, instead of thinking. So actually it's not values, it's reasons. Like I used to think that was a value, but it's a reason. Like strict with the screen time, right? But I give them their screen time in the morning, because if I don't like sit down and read something interesting, and kind of dive into something and research something, I'm like on edge all day, or I'm like not paying attention because like I have to get that fixed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I'm just like I'm like, all right, let's go, kids. Like, let's go to the library. Let's do some puzzles. Let's like play with our stuffed animals. Let's go to the pool, and it's fun, so long as we can keep it interesting. So yeah, I do think Play Blast can give you a little bit of like a what do they call it? Like a crackhead vibe.
Yeah. So you become a crackhead in the middle of the day then? Like that kind of.
Yeah, I'm pretty go. Yeah, I'm definitely pretty social. Yeah, but I do need the intellectual stimulation for sure. Yeah.
Before the interview, you said that you have a sponsor child in Rwanda. What made you decide to sponsor a child in Rwanda, and like how did that go?
Oh yeah. Well, it was just something that I just wanted to do, and I wanted to teach my kids like about poverty, and I wanted to have a relationship with somebody, and like it's compassion. Compassion is the nonprofit that runs these, and when I was researching different things you can do with philanthropy, the results of sponsoring a child are actually way more impactful than the results of, say, like giving money to hunger relief or something like that. There's something about the interpersonal relationship between you and the child as they're growing up, and giving them that safety net that does something for them for the rest of their lives. So it seemed like something that I could do for, not too much money, and then something I could teach my kids. And, it's giving is something that makes you feel good. Like the research shows, like when you give, like anything you do for somebody else, like your brain releases all this dopamine. It's just this very reliable way of feeling good, you know. So it's good to find ways to do that, you know.
By like helping someone in need from a different country who have less than what we have here in North America, and it's not a huge amount that you're giving. So it's
Yeah.
not like you're sacrificing a lot of things, but you're like a small amount is making a huge difference to someone else.
Yeah, and then you write them letters, and you get their kids to make them pictures, and they make you pictures, and it's just a nice little thing to do, you know.
Where in Rwanda is your child from?
Oh, with that feminine censor, you want to make me look it up right now?
No, it's okay. It's fine. Just curious, you know, because like I said, I just came from there, right? So I've been to quite a few cities there.
I looked up the village. I keep trying to find where she is exactly and get more information, but she's just too little to like explain it to me. So
yeah. So if you were to look at yourself honestly, would you say you are self above tribe or tribe above self?
at this point in my life, I really I don't know. I mean, it's almost kind of a funny thing because it seems like you would be self above tribe where you have your introverted decider, and tribe above self where you have your extroverted decider. You know what I mean? So when it comes to what I believe to be the truth and like trying to figure out what the truth is. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you this because Benjamin said something to me like, do you believe like in the truth, or are you more interested in a truth that everyone can agree on? Like, so you use extroverted thinking, right?
Yeah,
So are you not concerned with like the truth?
of course I am.
Okay, but that's not as important as like a truth that everyone can be on board with.
No, I believe in reality. Like, what is the absolute truth in reality? You know, like I don't care if people don't like it. Like what I care about is if it's the universal truth. You know, that's what I.
Yeah, so I wonder if that's actually a true metric of like TI versus TE.
I don't believe it because like you know I mean me and Benjamin had this discussion before,
Uh-huh.
and he asked me that same question, and at that time I was kind of like I don't really know if I care about the truth or not. But then like I started like watching myself like as weeks passed by and as like talking to my friends and whatnot. And I actually noticed myself saying that word a lot. It's like, well, the truth is, you know, like I have a lot of EJ friends and I'll tell them like, you know, like I'm like the truth is, you know, at the end of the day, you just want to be happy, right? So what does happiness mean to you? And then like I try to define that what happiness is, right? So one of my buddies, you know, he's making a lot of money now with his business. And before when he was younger, he was extremely deprived by his parents, and I think that's what drove him to entrepreneurship and to success. But long story short, now that he has money, he said that you know what, I pretty much bought everything that I've always wanted to buy, and at the end of the day, the truth is, the thing that makes me the most happy is spending time with my friends. You
That's
know,
nice.
like doing stupid shit with friends, like just playing video games or watching a movie, like nothing fancy. I don't need to go like, you know, be in a yacht or whatever. It's just like, you know, just hanging out with friends, being an idiot. That's it. That's for him. That's the truth, right? And then you know, I pointed out to him because sometimes he forgets it, right? He's like, oh yeah, you're right. Like that is like that's what makes me happy, you know. Like so, I do use that word. So it's not like it's not just a TI thing. I think like for a lot of people do accept that there's a universal truth that everyone kind of uses, you know. And
Yeah, but when he was saying the truth is, then he went to a personal value, hanging out with friends.
well, that's a little bit tricky because he always forgets also. So I have to like kind of remind him. Like the thing is, my friend and me grew up together, right? So even though he's an EJ, I bombarded him with FI stuff like growing up, right? Like
Mhm.
you like I did an interview with Dr. Dario Nardi.
I watched it. It was good.
Yeah, and then he said 50% of your like when he did the brain scan is nature, and the other 50% is nurture, right? So remember that example that he gave where this person was an ENTP but their mom was an ESFP, right? So and both those brain scans showed up in their person's brain. So I think with my friend, he is an EJ, but because he grew up with me and I'm bombarded him with like FI like propaganda, I think he got used to it. So I think it developed as a result of nature, not nurture. Sorry, not nature. So that's what I think.
Right, but according to Jung, your personality type could change as well.
I believe you can take on other people's personality. I don't think you can change per se. I'm still the same person since I was a kid.
No, I just mean according to Jung. So
Yeah.
he claimed that he used to be ST, and then he became TI with NI. So also Jung believed like in the jumper thing. Like that's actually Jungian. Which that's one of the things I love about what Dave and Shannon are doing is that they just kind of like accidentally like discovered this thing that like Jung was saying before Myers and Briggs came along and said like if the first function is extroverted, the second function has to be introverted, then third function extroverted, fourth function introverted. Like that was a formula that Jung would not agree with. So it's interesting that Dave and Shannon, through their research, figured that out. And they're not Jungian scholars or anything. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, well, I was definitely surprised to see the jumper stuff because like there was definitely some kind of inconsistencies. Like sometimes I meet like let's say an ENFP, but two different ENFPs are like two ENFPs can be so different from each other.
Yeah.
One can be extremely emotional while the other one seems more like an NT. They're extremely logical, yet they're both ENFPs, and I've seen it for a lot of times. Like I've seen INTJs who are very emotional, INTJs who are like robotic, right? And so I think when they brought in the theory of jumpers, that's when it finally clicked. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes perfect sense. Why some like I have some INTJs friends who are so emotionally aware, while I have some INTJ friends who are just like emotional, like they have no clue what their emotion is. So I think when they presented that on their YouTube channel, that's when I was that's when I was like, okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that helped me a lot too because a lot of people I could not fit. I was like, they do not fit any of these 16 types. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like they could either be they're like a hybrid of two types pretty much. So it's like I can see them as being this, and I can see them as being that. And the truth is they're both. Like I don't know. Like if we go back to you again, you said that you might be an ENTP, right? And you we're not 100% sure right now if you're self above tribe or tribe above self because you're pretty close, right? You would say.
I would say that if you would look at my actions most of the time, it would be tribe above self.
Even when you were a kid?
Um, even when I was a kid, not so much. No, I think it's something that that changed, but that's kind of funny. I was sick until my 30s. I was really sick most of my life. So I was actually because I had a disorder I was born with that was attacking my body and my brain. But the most frustrating thing about being sick was that I could not participate in my community and give to my friends and my family and be there for people the way that I wanted to. So it's confusing to me when I try to think about that. When I got better a few years ago, it was like the thing about getting better was like now I can be who I can give people what they deserve, especially my family. You know what I mean? And like so that's a funny thing. I don't know how that comes into play with personality type. Do you remember the Jessica How To class, the ADHD girl?
No, I don't.
Okay, so she is an ESFJ, FESI, but she has severe ADHD. So it was really difficult for them to figure out her type, because how can you be so bad at SI for that to be your savior? Well, because she has this thing going on in her brain, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things that was happening for me. But I know ever since, I guess, the past 4 or 5 years, since I slowly started getting better with these really new medications, that actually was really exciting. I now find myself in situations just constantly, almost every day, where I'm like, wow, this is kind of making me miserable, but I am obligated to do this. Like,
What
for
was
this.
what was making you miserable?
Like, I will, like it, I would want to, um, like let my kids watch more TV and eat more junk food, and not be so interactive with them. But I feel like I'm obligated to be on my A game and like be a super good mom. Or I promised my kid I'd take her to the pool, but I really don't want to go, but she really wants to go. So I'm going to take her to the pool. Or like, the whole reason I love basketball now is because my husband really got into basketball, and I could tell he really wanted me to watch basketball with him. And I was like, okay, I just spent all day taking care of the kids. Like, I want to curl up with a book, but I'm going to sit here and watch these guys dribble balls up and down a court with you, because that's what you want me to do. And now actually I love basketball, so I'm glad I did that. But just that kind of stuff, or just like a friend saying, hey, will you come to this thing with me, come to women's group? Okay, now I have to get a sitter and pay a sitter. Okay, but you want me to go, let's go do it. You know what I mean? But I usually enjoy myself, but I just kind of spread myself too thin. Like,
So that's from having sleep last then, I guess.
yeah, from having sleep last and kind of like probably the play blast element, and not what is your animal stack?
Um, I think I'm consume, play, blast, sleep like you, but
Have you been typed?
not officially. But based on Dave and Shan, they think I'm play first. They think I'm play, consume, blast, sleep. But I don't agree with it because I do the crack addict thing that you do. Like, like I start the day by like reading a book or watching videos on YouTube or listening to a podcast. And I like to be very like in a very quiet environment in the first thing in the morning. I like to be alone. But then like as I get going, I become like a crack addict, like nonstop, like go, 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 very pushy. I get very annoying actually, like my girlfriend would say. Like it just just way too pushy. I piss off a lot of blast people because I'm like making them do things, and it's their demon, right? So like I get it because if someone forces you to SI all day, you would be pissed too, right? But like so but like when that crack addict thing comes on, it's like it's hard to turn off. Like I have to like be conscious about it. I'm like, okay, wait, I'm bulldozing people. I gotta chill out, So
So what are you forcing people to do?
so I'll give an example. So I have a travel blog. That's kind of like my passion is travel. And to get a lot of points, you need to sign up for a lot of credit cards, right? It's called credit card churning. So like I'll get my girlfriend to sign up for a bunch of credit cards, and then like I'll tell her how to allocate like all her expenses on specific cards, and she'll be like, oh, I don't want to do it. She has like blast last, right? And then I'm like, no, we got to do this. Like, remember last time you enjoyed our vacation so much? Like, well, this is how we're going to do the vacation. We got to do the things that we don't want to do. And she's like getting upset because I'm pushing her to keep like doing all this like stuff, and then she doesn't want to do it. Like even my youngest sister too is blast last, right? And she's like, I like to meander first thing in the morning. I don't want to move. And I'm like, no, we got to go, 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 go. Like even in the airplane, like let's say we're disembarking from the airplane. I'm like, I want to be the first person out of the airplane, and I'm like gunning it through,
Oh, I used to be like that. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, like I want to get into the what do you call it, passport control as fast as possible, because I don't want to line up. So like I don't want to be the person in the back of the line. So like I definitely do that. Like even at night, I won't sleep. I'll just like keep pushing myself to keep working on my blog or something like that. I get obsessed over. So that's why I think I do have that play and blast. And I've been accused of being super extroverted, so
Accused? How dare you?
what's that?
How dare you be it's just funny. You said you've been accused, like it's something wrong with you.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about it because I was like, okay, well, I'm super extroverted. I don't think I am. I think I'm mildly extroverted, but like when I'm
You
with,
seem super extroverted.
sorry,
You seem super extroverted.
when I'm with people, I'm super extroverted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that makes sense. I mean, I can't really say anything about that. That's how
But
it is.
it sounds like you have a lot of friends and like you're connected to your family and your girlfriend. Like you have a lot of people on your.
I swing. Like there are times where I ghost people and I don't see them for 3 or 4 years,
Mhm.
and there are times where like I'm seeing them all the time. So I'm in that phase right now where I'm seeing all my friends. But like when I first started dating my girlfriend, I didn't see any of my friends for 4 years.
Mhm.
So it swings back and forth. So do you ever do anything like that?
Um, yeah, it just depends. Like with the kids, sometimes they just take a lot of my time, and then I can't, hang out with my friends as much, and they get mad at me, and I'm just like, I'm sorry,
So when they get mad at you, do you make plans with them later on to see them, or?
Yeah, I just give them extra attention. Like,
So would you say you're a double decider then? Like,
um, yeah, I think so.
so you have no problem seeing the point of view of yourself and the tribe.
I'm really good at seeing other people's point of view. Yeah. I'm better at seeing other people's point of view than I am at seeing mine.
Do you think it's from being tribe above self, or do you think that's from sleep last?
I don't know. I just feel like I don't when you was that you when you interviewed Julie Overman or somebody did and she said like she feels like she's not a person. Was
Yeah,
that you?
yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's right.
I kind of have that experience too. Like I feel like I outsource my identity to like the people around me, you know?
So when someone tells you you're one thing, you start to believe them.
I really can. And then I have to go talk to somebody else and be like, is this true?
So would you say you have a feminine introverted decider?
No, I think I have feminine FE probably. Super feminine.
Okay, look, it's a little bit weird, right? Because like if you have masculine internal decider, even if it was a demon, you would have kind of like a strong um, idea of what your identity is.
I have a strong idea of what my ideas are and what I believe and in terms of like what do they call them? Reasons?
Self reasons.
Just like I have like when I read things and when I research things or why I do things or what I like what I was talking about earlier about the screen time based on the research and like the ideas I formed around that, like that's very strong. But then in terms of like the sense of who I am in this greater existential kind of way, like I don't know if that's related to deciders or what that is. Oh baby, my doggy just fell.
Oh, it's okay.
You want to say hi? Oh, okay. Sorry, she cut her little fingernail in the trash can. Oh, baby, say hi. Hello. Hi.
Me and my girlfriend call what kind of dog is that again? Like the name of
A
the
Maltese.
Yeah, we call that dog the weight dog because one time I was driving
The
by
what?
the weight dog.
Uh-huh.
So it's like one time, I know it's a really random story, random, really random, but like one time I was driving by and I saw this owner taking their Maltese dog for a walk, but
Mhm.
the owner was walking way too fast and the Maltese was getting dragged.
Oh.
And then I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, you know what the dog is really saying? It's like, wait for me, that's like, so every time we see that dog now, we call it the wait dog. Like, yeah. So
Yeah.
if you're an ENTP and you like to use N and F, that means when you play with the tribe, you're very NF then. Does that sound about right? Like
Yeah.
you
I
like
would say.
you like to talk about like how to change the world, make the world a better
Yeah.
place.
Yeah. Which is why I thought I was enough. you know,
I mean,
because I
technically
love,
you are an NF then, right? Technically, if you are like a jumper ENTP, you're technically an NF then.
I could be, I could be that. Yeah. I don't know. I'm somewhere in there, but, yeah, I definitely, or I like to talk to people about like what's going on with their lives and, you know, their relationship problems or their ideas about society or politics or just whatever. Yeah, or like I don't know what NFE kind of stuff. My friend was asking me earlier if it's okay to break up with someone over text if you've only been dating for 2 months. What do you
Yeah.
think? Is that okay?
Was
Do you,
that?
do you think that's okay
Was okay.
to break up with someone over text if you've only been dating for 2 months?
I don't think it's okay.
You don't think it's okay?
No, I
Okay.
think that's rude. Like just to be a good human being, I think you should tell them in person. You know, because
Yeah.
otherwise you're just being avoidant, which I don't agree with.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's FI, right?
What's that?
What you just did, isn't that FI? Is
Uh,
that introverted feeling what you just did?
I guess so. Yeah. I guess if I look back to my friends who are FE, they would try to keep the feelings as positive as possible.
Mhm.
And the one way you can prevent that positive feelings from being disruptive is by just texting someone, I guess, because at least in a way it's really ironic because then like you know, let's say an EJ does that, that's kind of like a really selfish thing to do, you know, which is ironic because then you would think, you know, EJs are, you know, they kill themselves for the tribe.
Mhm.
But like if you were to text someone to break up with them, you're essentially being a jerk because like, you know, you wouldn't want someone to do that to you, right? You would want someone to just tell you why they broke up with you, at least kind of give you some closure. But like if someone did that to you by text, it's kind of like you're not even a human being, you know. She just texted you, you're like garbage pretty much. I mean that's my point of view at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's it. But that's a very FI point of view, don't you think?
Uh well yeah, I guess so because that's my belief. But everyone's beliefs though. So that's kind of
So like I don't know. Like I'm like I don't know. Like what's okay? You know what I mean? Like I don't know what my values are, my beliefs. I just go ask everybody else, you know?
yeah. I mean
Like
that
I wouldn't know if that was okay. I would have to go ask a bunch of people.
that's well the confusing thing about that is that it's either FE or TE because it could be both, right? You know? You know?
Yeah.
Because TE is like does that work for the group, right? Like does that work for everyone?
Yeah.
You know?
But like is it okay? Like is it wrong? That would be values.
Yeah, but the tricky thing is that like people with feminine FI would act the same way too, because feminine FI is very similar to FE. It's you know.
Yeah. But see that they type me as having masculine FI first. And
Yes.
it got confusing for me. Because I was like, I've had friends and I still have friends who have masculine FI
Yeah.
and they're like crusaders for what they believe in. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Okay, I get your point of view because I have masculine FI and I do feel like a crusader. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Whereas I don't know, I don't even know what I believe in. Like it changes. Like when I lived in San Francisco, and I was around a bunch of vegans and I worked for a vegan magazine, I was a vegan.
yeah,
And I moved to Georgia, and then I was like, you know, a suburban mom
yeah,
who's not a vegan, and I didn't want to tell my vegan friends because I was thought they'd be ashamed of me,
yeah,
or you know what I mean?
yeah. But like I think what's confusing about you is you could be a lot of things. Like, you know, like you could either be an INFP with feminine FI, you could be an ENTP who is the jumper type.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, you might be even be an ENFJ. I don't think you are. You don't seem very ENFJ like. ENTP makes more sense. INTP could make sense. I even believe INFP actually, to be honest with you, because I've known someone who's an INFP who looks exactly like you.
Oh,
Um,
that's not a good way to type somebody. Come on.
I know it's not, but I'm just saying, you know, like that, I'm just trying to explore the possibility here, right? But like, But people I've met with feminine FI do come across as very FE like. Like I had a friend who I'm pretty sure has feminine FI, and he always takes the opinion of the last person he spoke to. Like one person would tell him, you should start your own business because then you can have the freedom to run your own life. He's like, oh, that makes sense. And then next minute he'll talk to another friend, and that the friend will tell him, you should have a stable job because then you don't have to worry about, trying to make ends meet because you are guaranteed a salary. And he's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And for him, he's cool with either way.
But those are reasons. Those aren't values.
What's that?
Those are reasons. That's thinking. Those aren't values. You should start a business. You should have a stable job. That's not values. He's not taking on other people's values. He's taking on other people's reasons.
So that could also mean it's also TE. Like it's
the examples you were just talking about was TE. Yeah.
So he has feminine TE, then you would say.
Maybe, yeah. That's what that sounds like.
I don't think I quite agree with that because okay, well, I just find that people with feminine FI, for example, like they don't know like who they are is flexible, and I think the biggest way that you could determine if you have, I guess, feminine introvert decider is when someone does something to you that is hurtful. Do you feel hurt or do you feel angry? Because like I have friends who are INTPs, and when someone hurts their feelings, they would actually start, like borderline crying or actually start crying. They feel hurt. Versus not, if someone tried to hurt them, they would say, instead of saying "how dare you," like kind of like angry, like pissed off, like So there's like the biggest difference within masculine and feminine introvert decider is if you feel hurt or not. So like, I don't know how it works for you though. Like, do you feel hurt when people attack you?
I don't know if that would be masculine or feminine introverted decider though. How would it be the same with TI and FI?
Because it's inside. It's your identity. So when someone attacks you, that's how you get hurt. You take it personally, right?
I don't know. It just seems like TI and FI are such different things that to put them together is maybe not good.
No, it's not good, but that's kind of like how I've seen David Chan kind of like categorize it, right? Like TI and FI is your identity. One is self-reasons and one is self-values. But it's in the end of the day, it's still your identity. It's still your inner core. That's how you are inside.
But if somebody attacks you and you feel, would it depend on what they're attacking you on? Like if you're a TI and they're attacking you on your values, then would that hurt your feelings more than if they attack you on your reasons?
Well, I can only give examples. So like, for example, like my friend who's an INTP, like he's definitely INTP because whenever someone tells him a concept or an idea and there's like a logical inconsistencies, he's the first person who would jump in and correct you. He's like, no, that's wrong. No, that's wrong. Like he'll like correct you with the logical inconsistencies right away. But one time we were all watching this TV show.
I have to get the pizza. Can we pause this for a minute?
I'm not going to pause. I'll wait here.
Oh, wait. My husband got it. We're good. I think, yeah, he's got it. Okay, we're good. Sorry.
Okay, no worries.
I didn't know he was up yet. Okay.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, but so like one time I was watching this TV show called Spartacus. I don't know if you've seen the TV show or not, but it's a really good show. So my friend, because he's an IP, right? So he tends to be quite selfish. Like we'll set aside a time to get together, and he won't respect that, right? Like he's like, I don't care, I'll meet you whenever it's time to meet you. But we've been watching this one TV show in particular, all the time. And one time we got fed up with him. So he pretty much got like a tribe tidal wave where the tribe got pissed at him for always disregarding our time. So we're like, you know what? Screw him. We're going to go watch the show without him. So later on, he said, okay, I'm finally ready to come. I was like, we already watched the episode. And he was so hurt. You know, he was so hurt. And so that I don't know where that, like, how to describe that, but he was just so hurt, right? I'm like, well, you shouldn't be surprised, like, that we didn't watch it without you. You've been screwing us over this whole time by being, you know, so selfish. Like, we set up a time, you know, and you didn't agree with it, you know? And it's like, it's not like a one-time incident.
What did he say when he was hurt? Was it like, you're attacking me, or was it like, why did you watch it without me?
No, it wasn't what he said. It was his emotions. Like,
yeah, but when
he didn't say anything.
What did he say? Like,
he just said okay, but he said it in a very hurt tone.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was probably the right thing to do, though. You had to set a boundary.
Yeah.
You know.
But I think he's held a grudge since then, since that happened. You know, like people are out to screw me. You know, because he's, you know.
Is he on time more?
He's a little bit weird, like, in a sense that, like, he now has a tendency to replace friends. Mm-hmm. So if friends are not serving him right away, then he'll start thinking of a way to find other friends to replace you with.
How old is he?
He's my age. We're both 35. We've actually had well, we're best friends actually since we were kids. So like for us, we have a good relationship. Like whenever we have problems, I don't have a problem bringing it up to him. He can actually take criticism pretty well. As long as you're direct with him. So I'm pretty direct with him, so it works out pretty well, you know. So, but yeah, I've seen him get hurt a few times before, and it's always the tribe that where he feels hurt, you know.
Does he blame them?
He doesn't talk about it. He's very secretive, so I don't know. You know, like if you look at the Enneagram, he's type 5. Like he's extremely secretive, right? So he doesn't really talk about it that much. But like, he has a weird paranoia with like organizations or tribe stuff. Like for example, like, you know, back then, I think it was a few months ago, China. Like I don't know if you know the female chairman of Huawei, the phone company. She was arrested in the Vancouver airport because the U.S. government wanted her extradited to the U.S. Because she was selling arms or not arms, but technology to Iran when there's a sanction towards Iran. So what the Chinese government did as a retaliation is they took a bunch of Canadians who were in China and held them captive and started torturing them, right? So my friend was paranoid to go to China because he was going to go to China originally for vacation, but he changed his plans because he said China's going to go get him, right? And I'm like, you're nobody. The people that China like held captive are diplomats. You know, they're like big names. Like no one cares about you. You know, but he's like, no, they're gonna get me. I'm Canadian. They're gonna get me, right? And I'm like,
that's the thing with type 5s, though, is that as they isolate themselves more and more, they get super paranoid.
I don't think he's isolated. He hangs out with people quite a bit. Like,
okay, but maybe they like emotionally isolated, like closed off, not sharing things, like not like how you say he doesn't talk about things, and
he's paranoid about the big organization out to get him. Like he's, you know, it's a weird for someone that's very rational. This is his irrational fear.
Right.
It's like a big group is out to get him, you know? Like I just noticed, I actually brought it up to him. And it actually like puzzled him. So I don't know if he's still mulling over it. But, you know, it's like, I'm not sure if you noticed this, but this is an irrational fear that you have. Like a big government's out to get you, you know? You know? So he's like, I don't know, he's mulling over it. So let's talk about freedom for a bit. So if you are an ENTP, that means you're obsessed with freedom. Would you agree with that? Like, do you?
I mean, I've grown up. I mean, I am as obsessed with freedom as I can be, but actually, like, that's a big part of why I don't have a career right now. Because now, as soon as I could work for myself, I did, because I've always hated working for somebody else. So I freelanced, and then as soon as I went into freelance marketing, it was amazing, because I just do not like having a boss. And then when I became a stay-at-home mom, like, I really do enjoy the freedom of, like, not having to clock in and deal with work. I'm very blessed. My husband, like, takes care of the finances, so I can do that, you know? And yeah, I do not like when people try to control me, especially with stupid rules I don't agree with. I can be very childish when that happens.
Do you have any example?
Okay. So, there was this church that I was going to for a while, and my middle child is really, really shy. So I asked my friend who wanted me to go with her. I said, "Yeah, we want to come back to the church, but can I just hang out in the little kids room and introduce my daughter to the kids, because she's super shy, and that way maybe it would break the ice a little bit, because she just cries when it's time to go. She's so shy." And she was like, "Well, that's against our regulations, because you have to have a background check in order to be in the room where the children are." And I don't know, I just thought that was dumb, you know, like, I can't, like, introduce my kid to the other kids, like, that's weird, you know.
Yeah.
So I just didn't go.
I see.
Because I think it's a stupid rule. Like, if it was a smart rule, that would be fine, you know. But I'm not going to go pay $40 for a background check so that I can go stand in a room and introduce my kid to these other kids, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, I can relate to you. I break the rules all the time. So
I don't break the rules. I just break the rules that I know I can break because they're stupid.
yeah, I mean, that's how I feel also. So if I think the rules is nonsense, I'll break it willingly.
And I teach my kids the same thing. You got to look at the rule and decide if it's a good one or not.
What about your NE? So you have masculine NE, right? Like, what is that like?
What is that like? You know, I mean, it's like, I mean, you must experience this too. It's like you have this movie in your head all the time. Like, I swear, I think in paragraphs, you know, like, just all of these random ideas that have no relevance to anything all day long.
Like what?
Whatever it is I'm reading, or whatever it is I just watched, or whatever it is that's going on in politics. You know, like, my husband and I have this ongoing thing where he's saying, like, you know, Nancy Pelosi should, you know, move to impeach Trump because obviously he needs to be impeached. And I'm like, no, like, she probably doesn't want to impeach him because, like, if Pence takes office, if Trump gets impeached, like, Pence could look like a freaking angel, like, after, you know, Trump being so crazy. And then what if, like, you know, the Democratic nominee has a worse chance of winning against Pence than against Trump. So maybe that's what she's thinking. And he's like, no, that's not what she's thinking. And so then I'm, like, going and reading stuff about it and being like, I wonder what she is thinking. Like, what's her strategy there? You know, what's going to happen with the elections, or stuff like that, you know, just like whatever I've been watching or reading, just kind of like bouncing around in my head, you know.
Yeah.
Does that happen with you? Like, I mean,
Not like yours. Yours is very different from how it bounces from mine, you know. Like, I'll read a concept. Like, I was reading a book when I was traveling. I read this book called The One Thing.
mm-hmm.
So right now that's kind of like what I'm obsessed over. But I know for a fact that, like, when I read my next book, I'm going to completely forget about the concepts I've learned from that book. It's just
what was the concept from The One Thing?
the one thing the concept, the main concept of the one thing is like, you need to focus on just one thing at a time. Otherwise, you're not going to get any meaningful result in your life. So like, so they gave examples for all the areas of your life. So for example, like fitness. What's the one thing you can do in fitness that will get you the most result that you want for yourself? Right. So for me, the one thing is cardio. Like I need to do more cardio, right? So that's the one thing for fitness. You know, I could probably do less weights and more cardio. What about friendship? You know, what's the one thing I can do with my friends to you know, keep my friendship strong with my friends? The one thing I can do is see them once a month. You know, just get everyone together and hang out just once a month. I'm like, okay. But like, what's the one thing you can do? You know, there's like a one thing for everything. Like, what's the one thing you can do for everything? Like, you know, like the 80-20 rule. I don't know if you've heard of the 80-20 rule. Like 80% of the result comes from the 20% of that you do, or you know, like 80% of a company's profit comes from 20% of the people working there, for example.
Oh yeah. My husband and I were just talking about that today.
Yeah. So they said that the one thing is that thing that's going to create that 80% of the result in your life. So you need to figure out that one thing. You know, like what's the one thing you're going to do today that's going to get you the most result, you know, for your 1 week goal? What's the one thing you're going to do this week that's going to get you the best result for your 1 month goal? You know, it's like there's always like a one thing, right? Like that's kind of like the obsession. And it's kind of weird because it contradicts what Dave and Shan kind of teach us too in ops, right? Because I'm reading the one thing, and I'm thinking about, like, you know, the stuff that Dave and Shan teaches. They're like, you need to work on your demons, so that you don't get tidal waves and that you're a more balanced person. But then you read the one thing, they're like, whatever you suck at, you should just outsource because you don't have that much time in this world, you know. And I'm like, okay, well, that contradicts kind of like Dave and Shan's message, right? You know. And it's not the only it's not the only book that has said the same thing. Like I don't know if you've done your Strength Finder 2.0 test. I highly recommend it. One of the best things that I think everyone should do is to find out what your top 5 strengths are. So in that book, they tell you the biggest lie that someone told you when you were a kid is that you can be whoever you want to be. The book says, however, you can be more of who you are. So that's kind of like what the book said, right? So basically the book's saying, find your biggest strength and really develop those strengths, because if your strength is a 5-star and your weakness is a 1-star, if you spend 5 stars worth of practice, that's 5 times 1, you're still going to be terrible at it. Well, if it's 5-star worth of practice multiplied by 5-star worth of talent, that's 25 stars, meaning you're going to be amazing at this area where you're naturally talented at. So what your goal is then is to master your strengths and then work with people who are good at your weaknesses. And then together you create synergy, right? So that kind of like contradicts Dave and Chan's message where for us, SI is what we need to work on, right? So if we allocate time on SI, then we kind of waste time not building our strengths, you know. But then we prevent tidal waves from happening. So like, what's more important, preventing tidal waves from happening, or building up our strengths so we maximize the result that we produce during our lifetime? So it's one.
Yeah, I mean, you could flip it around, because what if you know, the neglect of SI is causing 80% of your problems, you know?
Yeah, no, I
Then
understand.
it would make sense to work on it, because you're still going to be having all these problems. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I think it depends. Like, a lot of the literature says different things, but I think the consensus among the typology community, the Jungian community, is that you do want to develop your inferior function, and that is the normal adult process, and most people actually do that, you know, throughout the course of their lives, by the time they're in their 40s or 50s or 60s. And is that something that you can jumpstart early? All that I can say is that what I personally went through by having kids and being forced to do the SI, like, I didn't have a choice. You know what I mean? Because kids need routine, kids need structure, kids need to be fed every single day.
Yeah.
You have to feed them, you have to make their lunches, you have to do their laundry, you have to plan their schedules. If you don't, it's just chaos. Like, it doesn't work. And I think a big part of it is not just developing it, but looking at your attitude around it. So if your attitude, and this was like really what changed things for me a year ago when Dave and Shannon were talking about, like, what are the things you resent and don't take responsibility for? And I realized, okay, like, I've been doing the SI stuff, but I've been doing it with an attitude of like, why do I have to do this? Like, this is too hard. And I wasn't being an adult about it. So that was like, so I wrote down everything I was resentful of, everything I wasn't taking responsibility for. And I was like, I'm just going to own this. Like, I'm going to figure out how to get into this world and how to, this sensory world, how to, like, really, I'm really going to figure this out. You know what I mean? And I want to take pride in this. And this is my responsibility. I chose to have these kids. You know what I mean? And that's when everything changed for me. So it wasn't just working on it. It was working on my attitude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that was big for me.
Okay. I'm going to play a little bit of a devil's advocate here, but I actually agree with you. But, so I interviewed Dr. Mike Budria from NF Geeks. I don't know if you've seen that one, but like he said that you cannot develop your inferior function, which is SI for us, and for him too, because he's an ENFP. I kind of disagree with him. Just knowing, I think even for yourself, like, you've noticed that you've actually, your SI's gotten better, right? Since having kids.
A lot better, yeah.
I mean, you didn't have a choice, but you also changed your attitude towards it, which is good. So I think attitude definitely plays a big role in that. But then I was also thinking, like, if you want to produce something meaningful in your life, you can't also obsess with your demon. Like, what is the right allocation of time to use your demons and your saviors? And for me, I feel like it's almost like back to the 80-20 rule, right? Like, if once a week or twice a week you spend time, working on that SI diligently, then you have the other 80% of the time to go use your saviors to build something meaningful. Because I feel like, like, every human is provided a specific talent that you're quite good at. And that's kind of what you bring into the table to the tribe, is that specific talent. And if you're trying to use your demon and you're terrible at it, and someone's better at you at using it, then you're really doing the tribe a disservice. And that's my honest opinion on it. So I think it comes down to an 80-20 rule. Like, I don't think you should be doing it all day, your demons, I mean. But you should.
I can tell you from experience, you shouldn't be doing it all day.
Yeah, you're probably doing it all day though, so I don't know how you feel about that. So.
Well, I just feel like maybe it makes me a little bit of an unpleasant person at times, and it probably causes, like, psychological problems for me.
Yeah.
And the people around me. It's probably a little much, but yeah. So I don't know that I would recommend to anyone that they just do demon boot camp. Like, you're not going to do it unless you have to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why nobody's going to go on the hero's journey willingly. Like, why would you willingly do that to yourself?
Well, I think even the hero did not want to do their demon. No. Like, they were forced to do it, right? Like,
they were forced to. Yeah, it's like saying, yes, go ahead. I'm going to submit to this being tortured.
Yeah.
For 5 years or whatever. Let's do that. You have to be forced into it.
I think the biggest difference, like, hero journey wise for people, is like, the person that's a hero is the person that changed their attitude towards it. Like, they were forced upon it and said, you know what? I'm not going to back down from this challenge. I'm going to go get through it.
That's right. I've seen that happen in people, and it's beautiful,
Yeah. And then, it's also saddening to see people who were faced with a challenge and they just said, nope, I'm not going to deal with it. I'm going to go get drunk on my savior. So,
which is its own kind of hell,
yeah, that's true. Because then you're stuck in that loop, right? Like,
well, it's like an addiction. It's like it takes more and more and more to get high, and you just feel like, yeah, in a loop and just strung out.
yeah, I get what you mean about like, you need more to get high. If you get drunk off your savior. Because you build so
Like
much
how
tolerance.
much any do we need at this point for it to be, how interesting does it have to be?
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot actually. Because I was like, okay, I've seen so many connections already. Like, what's the point? Like, what's happening to me in the real life, in the sensory world, right? Like, am I really making any meaningful, what do you call it? Like, advancement in my life? Like, no, not really. Like, yeah, it's a brilliant idea, but so what, Yeah.
I know.
So Jenna, we're gonna wrap up the interview.
Okay.
Do you have any final message for anyone with Demon SI and how they can? So because you've been forced to work on it,
Yeah.
first of all, being a mom, what are some, I guess, some tips that you can give to people?
Practical little blasty tips.
Yeah.
I can't recommend meditation enough. Like 10-minute breathing meditations you find online, because that can help you get censored in the sensory. Also, something that's really helped me is developing a habit where you go outside, because if you're sensory last, sometimes if you do something outside, like that can actually awaken your senses and get you into that world a little bit better. For me, it's gardening, and maybe for you, it's travel, being out in the outdoors, traveling. I don't know, or running, or just something outdoors. Let's see, what else? What else have I done that's in desperation? I don't know. Other than attitude, just like trying to own it, like just trying to pay attention to what you're seeing, what you're smelling, what's going on in your body. You know what I mean? I don't know, that kind of stuff. Find somebody to take care of. Get a dog,
Yeah.
because that can be great motivation. And man, if it's something that you have to do, like a class or a job or a kid or a relationship, something you can't get out of, then you're going to do it.
So you either do it consciously or you get forced upon it. So you have to make a choice.
Both. Yeah,
Both.
you can do the going outside and then meditation and stuff when you're feeling really unbalanced and out of it. But then, yeah, if you can find like volunteer work where you go once a week and you have to go, because you signed up to go for 6 months, you know what I mean? Or just committing to somebody to do something where you can't get out of it, something you can't get out of. That's the only way you're going to do it, right?
Yeah. What's the word for that? There's a word for that you just explained.
I don't know. It's like those apps where if you don't do what you said you were going to do, like it's going to donate money to like some horrible organization that you hate. You know about this?
Yeah, like for you, I guess Donald Trump organization. No, there's a word for it. Like when you need to like go somewhere. My SI is so horrible. I always forget words. But like, like you need to go like you don't want to screw people over, so you need to show up. Like, what's the word for that?
Obligation?
No, it's not obligation. There's another word for it. Like, we both have terrible SI, so we both don't know. But
well, we'll both remember like in 20 minutes, and then one of us can put it in the comments.
Yeah. Oh my God. All right. Well, I'm gonna hit the pause button now. So thanks again, Jenna, for doing the interview.
All right. Bye. Thanks.
Bye.